Companies have to be nimble and adaptable to respond to these changing market conditions. You've got to shift your resources where they are most needed and most productive. When growth can be negative one year and more than 10% the following year, as is happening to us now, you need enormous flexibility to anticipate changes, to adapt, and to do well. In other words, to underpin your improvements in productivity, you need enormous flexibility. Flexibility in skills, flexibility in wages, flexibility in mindsets. Skills flexibility means training workers to master multiple skill sets and to be able to perform many different tasks. To get to this point, to enable workers to do this, firms have to strongly support workers' training, properly recognize workers who make the effort to acquire additional skills. Then, if you have flexible workers, the firms can deploy them to different areas depending on different conditions, depending on different business demand, and this will give you an important edge over your competitors. One example of a firm which has done this is GlaxoSmithKline, which is in Singapore with many plants operating 24/7 and rotating shifts, 4 rotating shifts. The demand for pharmaceutical products is very volatile. One quarter it can go up 30, 40, 50%. The next quarter, that batch is over. You come correspondingly back down again. So therefore, you have to be able to shift your workers from one product to another, from one line to a next, or in the way the industry is organized, from one building to the next, because each building is a different line, a different product. So GSK decided to multi-skill its technicians with the support from the unions, the CIEU, and the Workforce Development Agency. So far, it's trained about 3/4 of its technicians. Previously, each technician could only operate in one particular production building. Now they are trained to work in several production buildings. And the productivity gains will be about 10% and will enable GSK to pursue more growth opportunities. And of course, we hope will encourage GSK to bring more production buildings to Singapore. Another aspect of productivity, of flexibility, is wage flexibility. We've been working on this for a long time, since the mid-1980s. And after years of patient hard work, many companies now structure their wages not just with a basic wage, but with monthly and annual variable components. And it's become part of the vocabulary of wage bargaining, of collective negotiations. The unions support this wage flexibility as a tool which will buffer workers from economic downturns. And the flexible wage systems fully demonstrated their value during the recent downturn, when more than half the companies froze basic wages and many reduced bonuses. And along with spur and jobs credit, this helped firms to manage their costs and hold on to most of their workforce. You saw a few examples on the slides just now, but let me just mention one specific one, CapitaLand. Last January, when the outlook was bleak, the CapitaLand management and executives took wage cuts of up to 20%, with the deepest cuts at the management, but everybody being affected, some 3% maybe, but everybody chipped in. Throughout the downturn, CapitaLand worked with its workers and with its union, which is CCU, the Singapore Industrial and Services Employees Union, to cut costs. Then, when the performance and outlook improved towards the end of last year, it reinstated the salaries, and then later on it raised the salaries. And this is the model of labor management relations which we must aim for, sharing benefits in good times and riding out difficulties together in bad times, with the management leading by example. This year, we project record growth, but we should be equally mindful of the need for wage flexibility. We shouldn't lock in high wages which may be justified this year, but will cause us difficulties if conditions change which at some point they surely will. Wage settlements should also factor in the extra 1% in the CPF, which is happening in September this year and then next year in March. Lim Swee Say has already reminded the workers to split any wage increases this year 3 ways, between the basic salary, the monthly variable component, and the annual variable component. I hope that in a tight labour market, employers will be equally responsible and similarly prudent in their approach to wage settlements.